There's a guy running for Deschutes County Commissioner, Chet Wambolt. I worked with him at Wolf. Like the first day, I did the willing workers on local farms. God, when was that? I want to say 2010, 11, 12. I don't know. It might have been 20. I want to say 2011. I think the first thing I did was like an Earthship farm where um, it was a house it was built out of pretty much just burp. Sorry, you didn't want to hear that. That was a long burp. Pretend that didn't happen. Side topic about burps. I I worked with a good friend of mine actually. I don't I remember when I worked with him he would burp sometimes, but it was like indigestion. It was like, no, I have to do this. That's what he would say. He was very polite about it. Um, it was like ulcers or something in his stomach that he had, and that was just part of it. I remember I remember I met someone who had the same problem. I was like, oh, I have a friend who has that. It's a big deal. It's like if you struggle with it, apparently it's a big deal. I don't have that, thank God. But I know like stress can trigger it because I've had that when I was younger, and that is kind of rough. I can imagine you're older, it gets worse. Okay, moving on. Indigestion, sorry. Wolf. We're talking about Wolf. What little I know about it, I think it's kind of like based off of AmeriCorps, but it's just it's kind of it was suited more for like kids in their 30s basically, yuppies. I don't know why I think that. Maybe because it was held and banned, but I think the age group it got a lot younger. It was like 20, 25. Um, God, I gotta look up and see if they still do Wolf because I remember they had like some other people take over because it's a lot to manage. But they had some people from the college do it, which was a really good idea. They had one guy do it. I don't know if they're still doing it. I need to. I haven't done that for a while. I stopped doing it like I don't know when I stopped. I think it was around that period. It was kind of like the volunteers coming in were a lot younger and stuff like that. And I was just kind of like, maybe I'm kind of outgrowing this a bit. But it was fun when I did it. I did it for, God, at least, I want to say at least 5 years. It's like something like that. Maybe a little longer. But yeah, those were good outings. I highly recommend it. If you haven't done it before, or if you haven't really worked on a farm, the closest thing to a farm I worked on was my grandparents. They raised sheep, and I remember I did have to deal with some like farm drama with helping my grandparents out because it was like a pack of coyotes or something came after their prize sheep, which is more of a pet. Because you couldn't get too close to the other animals because they were going to be sold off and processed and whatever. But it was like it was kind of a good thing they had going because like everybody in the community worked together. It's like it would go to their neighbor to get processed, and then I remember that the neighbor came over during that emergency when the coyotes came over and attacked that sheep, and she was pregnant too. So it was just a long process. I remember it was really hard on my grandmother. I think the sheep eventually died and had to perform a cesarean section, and the tough part was figuring out how to get the mucus out of the sheep. So we were just kind of like holding it by the hind legs and just we figured out how to get the mucus out and just give them CPR, but they didn't make it. None of the baby sheep made it, and we did it. We did the best we could. I know my grandmother was probably up all night dealing with that. And I did try to help save some of the sheep too, but we couldn't. And I remember when the neighbor came over, he was an old guy. He was like, "Yeah, sheep are just hard to save in a situation like this. If they were like young calves or something like that from like a cow or something, that might survive a bit better, and they're a bit more hardy too. So I think you can do more to kind of help resuscitate them and everything. But I want to say like the technique to get the mucus out. It's like you just got to do whatever you can as fast as you can. Like even like centrifugal force. That might have been from a Dark Side comic, but I'm like, I don't know what his suggestion was. Like he said, like if they're cattle, sometimes you gotta just swing them around or something. I don't know. It was something like that. Careful. I mean, you wouldn't do that with a baby, but I don't know. It's farm life. You gotta figure shit out. We didn't deal with that, but I remember on one farm we actually did process chickens. That was a trip. I was too chicken to do it the first time, but the second time it was like another time I came. I actually watched them process them, and that was rough. That was like I remember when I saw that it was like bonk, it hit me in the head. And I'm like, I've done this before. I had to like sit down. I was like, I think I had a dream about this many years ago, and I did. But I didn't process them. I watched someone do it, but I helped with everything else. I think I like dunked them in the hot water and plucked the feathers from the chickens when we were doing that. But too many stories, too much. But I think the chicken one that was at another that was at a pretty cool farm too. I forgot what it's called, but I think the gal there and her husband they did some stuff with the community. I know her husband is like a rodeo, a legit rodeo star. And I remember when I was working at Wolf, I accidentally was asked to be a bouncer at a pub for a fundraiser. I'm pretty sure it's by accident because they asked three guys. I'm like, these other two guys are like huge, huge guys, big guys. I'm like, and I replied back and I said, I don't know if I said I can do it or I can't, but they replied back and said, no, we found someone else, Brian. Thank you. It was funny. It was just like the other guys, they were like either 7 feet tall or like 300 pounds or just meat. And then there's Bryant, who's 120 pounds and 6'2". I'm actually 6'1", I think. 6'1" or 6'2", I can't remember. Anyways, that's you do the math. That's like having a Porsche be a bouncer. Don't quite work. They had to have the tough trucks.